Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Christal. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Anna Javellana. Did I say it properly?
You did.
All right, everyone. So, we have a very special episode for you today because we're going to be talking a little bit about how buffering, and don't worry, we'll tell you what that means, impacts your relationships and just kind of all the things in relation to my mini series of women in real estate. So, Anna is a certified life and weight coach specializing in overwhelm and productivity for female property managers. With over 10 years of residential, commercial, office, retail, and industrial property management under her belt, she knows the numerous demands of this competitive industry. She is a proven leader in the industry with multiple accolades from the Minnesota Multi Housing Association and the Institute of Real Estate Management. As an expert on both wellness coaching and property management, Anna has combined her love of the industry with her passion for self development to strengthen all female property managers to take full ownership of their well being by providing them with tools that will enable them to thrive while also managing their properties. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I like to start these episodes with just sharing a fun fact with the listeners.
Sure. So I am half Filipina. And a
Mm,
fun fact about our family is that my great grandfather was the first president of the Philippines. So
really?
technically, I think he was the second or third, but he was the first president of the republic that is still standing today.
Oh my gosh, that is
Yeah.
amazing that that's in your lineage.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's like we've had some like interesting fun facts on the show, but that's a big one.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
my
pretty, it's
gosh.
fun.
Yeah, that is so cool. I love that. Okay, so I know that I talked a little bit, I mentioned the word buffering, right, when I was kind of telling the listeners what we're going to talk about today. So do me a favor, like you and I know what buffering means, but if you will, please define that for our listeners, and then we'll just kind of jump right in.
Yeah, I love talking about buffering because it's one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it, and then you see it
Mm,
everywhere. So, the
mm.
way that I like to define buffering, it's like that little symbol on your computer screen when something's loading. It's
Yes.
like it's just circling and circling, and it's like I think the internet's doing something, but I'm not actually getting a page, right?
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
so that's the way that I like to think about it from an action standpoint. I'm doing things, but I'm not getting a result, or I'm not getting the
Mhm,
result that I want.
mhm,
So the most common types of buffering that I see are scrolling on social media,
mhm. Yes.
overeating, maybe over drinking,
Mhm.
or staying up late and watching Netflix. I think gossip is a really interesting form of buffering that's a little bit more subtle, but
It is. I'm glad
yeah,
you brought that up though, because I feel like people may not recognize that one initially.
yeah. I mean, what's the
Yeah,
point of rehashing details? Does it get
exactly.
us a result? It's probably
Mhm,
not a result that we want. So, yeah, that's what buffering is. And once you start recognizing it and how it shows up for you, you'll start to notice it in different places.
mhm. Yeah. No, that's so good. And one, I mean, that's literally like your specialty is helping clients like reduce buffering so that they can have the time and energy for their life, right? And everything a part of it, their loved ones, their passion projects, their hobbies, all that stuff. So tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, about kind of like your personal journey to this work, because this is your story, right?
Yeah.
Of like kind of the overeating and over exercising, that type of thing. So, if you don't mind, walk us through your personal journey into this work, and then tell us a little bit about how you like made it sustainable, so that way you could in turn help your clients.
Yeah, I love telling my story because there are so many different pieces of it that I think people can relate to. So,
Hmm.
my biggest forms of buffering essentially were overeating, over drinking, overspending,
Okay.
and then the social media. And so,
Hmm.
what happened for me was I started in property management, and I was in a situation where I didn't realize how much I was overworking. I just wasn't
Mm,
conscious. I wasn't aware of what a healthy workload looked like.
yeah.
And I would do all of these things. I would spend money. I would like buy new clothes. I would get takeout. I was having lattes like twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I would stay up late watching Netflix. And I could not see it at the time, but I was doing all of those things because I was so unfulfilled in my life outside of work.
Yeah.
So my life was my work. And while
Mm-hmm.
my job did bring me a lot of joy, it's not a great idea to put all of your joy in one place.
Right.
So my journey started with a commitment to pay off all of my consumer debt. And I didn't have
Okay.
the words for it at the time, but what I was essentially doing was not responding to urges. When we talk about
Okay.
buffering, urges is a common word that we use. It's like we have the urge to drink, to spend, to speak,
Yes.
whatever it may be. And so that was my first encounter with changing my behavior. And
Mm-hmm.
then money became very easy after that.
Mm-hmm.
I found my groove, I found what was working for me. And then the next piece for me was once I had more money, I
Mm-hmm.
realized, okay, like I don't actually want to be spending all my money on lattes. Like I really want to get
Mm-hmm.
this weight off.
Okay.
So I finally made that first investment in myself and I joined a gym and I had a
Mm-hmm.
coach who was helping
Mm-hmm.
me. And it took about 2 years to figure it out. But
Mm-hmm.
now exercise is kind of a no brainer for me. Like
Yeah.
I still dilly dally a little bit before I start, but it's a given. Like I'm going to move my body every day.
Yes.
So it was like
Yes.
spending done, exercise done. And then
Mm-hmm.
the food piece for me was just the hardest to get through. And I'll be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, it still is to this day.
Okay. Okay.
So I finally hired a coach to help me in preparation for my wedding. And I did get down to my goal weight, but
Mm-hmm.
the experience was not what I thought it was going to be.
Tell
I
me more
thought
about
that I
that.
was like going to get a meal plan or get
Mm-hmm.
an exercise routine. I thought she was going to look at my macros. I just thought that's what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And instead, she taught me time management. She taught
Mm-hmm.
me about boundaries and why they're necessary. And she taught me about being cognizant of other people's opinions versus my own opinion. Like, and I just got sideswiped. Like, my life
Yes.
was forever changed.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was all in on this coaching thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with other coaches. I hired a time management coach, various coaches for athletic endeavors as well.
Okay.
But what happened was I started showing up to work and I would see people bumping up against these obstacles
Mm-hmm.
and I would hear people complaining about their time and how many things that they had to do. And internally, I was just dying. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like there's nothing wrong with your job. There's nothing wrong with you. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But for people who aren't accustomed to coaching or self development, it's like, how do I take the last 7 years of my life and tell them, like, these thoughts are all optional, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I used the coaching tools that I had. And in 2018, I got my first LLC. I
Mm-hmm.
started a business. I got certified as a coach. And then in 2020, I went full time. And this is literally all that I do now.
Yes. I love how your personal journey just walked you right into the work that you do with property managers today because, you know, you can just speak so specifically to exactly what is going on with them. And I have my real estate experience doesn't include ever serving as a property manager, but we have a property manager and have had others. And so I know, like, even though it's on the other end of it, it really is like a 24/7 job. Like, if it's a
Yes.
holiday and the water heater decides to die or explode, like something has to
And it
be,
always does it
right?
on the holidays,
It
right?
does.
How does that happen? I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet.
Always, right? So yeah, I can just see how your work is so needed in this industry. And I even remember just kind of reading. We know each other obviously outside of this conversation, but in preparation for today, I wanted to read a little bit more about you. And so I went back to your website and I was reading the story how your husband brought you the pint of ice cream because that's what he was used to doing. Like when you were feeling like kind of a certain way and you're like,
Yes.
this is it. I'm
Yes.
done.
That was the moment that I knew I had it
Mm-hmm.
all wrong. And I think that was,
Mm,
if I'm not mistaken, that was like right before I hired my first one-to-one coach,
okay.
was when I realized like he's bringing something to make me feel better. And it is the
Mm-hmm.
very thing that's going to make me feel worse tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
the very thing that is going to cause me to be snappy with him and irritated at
Yeah.
work. I'm like, something
Yes.
here has got to
Yes.
change.
Yeah. Okay. So that walks me right into like the next area that I want to chat about. Tell me how this work like impacts, and you can share from your personal journey or from what you see with your clients. How does it impact relationships, both with like, as a property manager, like their colleagues, their clients, like, who they're managing their properties for, and even like their personal relationships? Like, what are some of the areas you see impacted the most? And then how do you kind of help them? We know it's through right your coaching, but kind of like what does that look like? Share with us.
Oh my gosh. How much time do we have? I what I notice is like as clients start doing this awareness work
Hmm.
and really come to terms with what happens when they feel certain things, they start showing
Yes.
up in different ways. And what
Yeah.
that can look like is changing what you say, how you say it, who you
Hmm.
say it to, even.
Hmm.
I know in my own journey, like anytime I had a stressful day at work, which was pretty
Hmm.
much 4 out of 5 days,
Hmm.
I felt this pressure to just be on all the time. Like I had to be the
Okay.
happy property manager who took care of
Yeah.
everything and then like would comfort her employees after they're getting berated by a tenant.
Yeah.
And so I would hit the end of the day and just everything that I had pent up would come
Hmm.
spilling out towards my husband.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And that was just a reaction. And I didn't see at the time, that was just a pattern because I didn't know
Hmm.
how to acknowledge my feelings during the day.
Yes.
It's so
Yes.
crazy. One of the first things that we do when I work with clients is we decide on something ahead of time. So, what that might look like would be I'm going to decide to only spend 30 minutes per day on Instagram, or I'm going to
Hmm.
decide only one latte in the morning as opposed to two,
Yes.
whatever it may be.
Right.
I had two clients who the first thing that they wanted was, I just want to take a lunch break. And it seems so
Wow.
crazy to me that you have to advocate for 30 minutes in the middle of your
Yes.
day to just be and not be doing
Mhm.
work and
Mhm.
reclaim your thoughts.
Yeah.
And what I heard from both of them was that when they gave themselves that 15 to 30 minutes
Mhm.
without their phone and just allowed themselves to decompress, that they were
Yes.
showing up better in the second half of their day,
Yes.
which allowed them to work more efficiently, which allowed them to be there for their employees in a better
Mhm.
way. There's so
Mhm.
much less stress at the end of the day to then take home to your family.
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost
And
like your family sometimes gets like your sloppy leftovers and you are
yes,
helping clients reverse that.
yeah. And the crazy thing about it was I didn't suggest that to them. They came up with that idea on their own. And I think that's what's so
Mm.
powerful about this work is that when you really tap into it, you know what
Mhm.
you need better than I
That
do.
is, yeah, that is what I love about coaching is that we believe that the clients have that wisdom to run their lives in the best way for them. Yeah, I love
Mhm.
that. I love
It's
that.
really fun to see someone go through that process because the first time
Mhm.
they do it, they're very concerned. Like, am I doing this right? Should I be doing something else? But
Mhm.
then when they see the results of reflecting on their thoughts, changing their behavior, then they're often
Yeah.
doing it by themselves because they trust, like, oh, if I look at this, I'm going to get a different result. Or I trust that I
Yes.
can get myself to a different reaction, to a different response.
Yes. Yeah. No, that is so good. Tell me, and I obviously you work with clients like across the country. What packages do you offer for property managers that are listening right now and they're like, they're hearing themselves as we talk about this.
Hmm.
Tell us how clients can currently work with you, what that looks like, and then I'd love for you to end by sharing how they can get in contact with you, and then we'll also make sure that we have every all of Anna's information in the show notes, whether you're watching YouTube or you're listening to the podcast.
So right now there are two ways that you can work with me. I do offer webinars for associations and property management
Mhm.
companies. And I
Mm.
love doing this. I have a three-part webinar series that focuses on work-life balance. And we talk about all
Mhm.
kinds of things, things like time boundaries, managing
Yes.
expectations, getting a handle on our email. That is a hot topic right now because the
Oh
email
my
is
goodness, email.
bananas. Yeah. So if you're interested in that, you can email me, and I'll provide my email to
Mhm.
you after this is done. But then I work one-to-one with clients. And what that
Mhm.
looks like is I have a 12-week program that guides you through a very specific process. It's 3 steps.
Mhm.
The first step is we focus on that buffering. And we
Yeah.
spend a whole month trying to reduce it so that you can have more time, more energy back in your day. And
Yeah.
then the second piece is we start to focus on working really intentionally. What that looks like is prioritizing what needs to happen at work and getting rid of
Mhm.
all of the stuff that just isn't important.
That's a
And by
big
the
deal.
time you've done these two things, you have more time, you have more energy. Now we
Mhm.
start focusing on bringing in the things that you want to be doing more of. So that might
Yeah.
be prioritizing family and friend time, or taking on a new hobby, or maybe picking up an
Mhm.
old hobby that you just haven't touched in a while.
Yes.
And what's really cool is once you understand these three pieces, they all start playing together in the most beautiful way. Like when
Mhm.
you're feeling fulfilled because you are doing your hobbies, all of that buffering just isn't appealing anymore because the rest of your life is so great. And
Yes.
when you have hobbies to look forward to, you want to be intentional with your time at work because you're excited to then go do whatever it is that you want to do.
That's right. Mhm. I
So
love
I offer
that.
this, it's a 12-week package. If you're interested, I do require a consultation, and you
Mhm.
can find me at my website. It's annajavellana.com, and I'll spell it out. It's ANNAJAV as in Victor, ELLANA.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for just sharing a little bit with us today. And I know that I know there are property managers who listen to the show every week, and so this time that you have given us is so important because I know that this is going to be so helpful. And if real estate is such an amazing industry, and so I feel like the work that you're doing allows women to do it in a sustainable way, because there is so
Yes.
much that can be created in this industry. I really think I love it, and but we can't run ourselves into the ground, so what you're doing is so important.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. This was so much fun.
I know it was perfect, so thank you so much, Anna. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode, and remember, you got this. Until later, bye.